everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to this week's episode of GCC's Georgia Chiro Connection. I'm your host, Dr. Kathy, and today we are talking with second generation chiropractor, Dr. Kathryn Maloof. Hey, Doc, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Listen, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I know you're on the other side of town. You're over in Lawrenceville, Duluth area. I'm over in the Woodstock area. But I want to jump right in and talk with you because one of the things we want to share with people that are watching, whether they're watching live or later, is kind of that continuity of practice when life happens. So let's talk a little bit because some people may be looking at your name saying, I know that I know your name and why. Tell us why we know your name.
My father, Dr. Kathryn Maloof, opened this practice in 2001, and he practiced for about 20 years. He passed away in September of 2021 while I was about 7th or 8th quarter. So I was in the middle of school getting everything together. And when I graduated, I immediately started planning and prepping, repainted, redecorated, and started in August of last year.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. Now, apologies. I'm very sorry to hear about the loss of your father. I completely empathize. I lost my father in December. I'm actually leaving tomorrow to go for his memorial service. So, that's a tough spot. It's not one that we ever want to be in. But for me, my dad built this office, right? So I'm in what his hands built every day. And you're in that similar situation. Your dad built that office and built that relationship in the community, and you're in there living out that legacy and continuing it.
I am.
It's a beautiful thing. I will tell you, I sat to write what I'll be reading for my dad's memorial. And it was really hard because I wrote all about his hands and, his ability with his hands to build things that allow me now to use my hands to build something. And I want to talk about, because there's a lot of times we have students here that are looking at taking on their parents' practices or looking at taking on a practice of someone who retires. And a concern for people is, will the patients stay? So talk with us a little bit about that with the patients that had been there, that knew your dad for years and years and years, that watched you probably grow up in the office. How was that transition for them to all of a sudden realize you're a fully grown doctor now?
Well, after he passed, we were closed down for about 2 years. So a lot of them went to go to another chiropractor. And so the ones who knew I was coming into practice, they find out, they either Google my name because my dad talked about me all the time. So they knew that I was going to start practicing. So they are able to then see, oh, she is open. And then slowly but surely they've been trickling back. But I've been able to build up a clientele of patients who knew my dad and also who know me. And the ones who knew my dad, they're just so sweet and loving, and they're so excited to see me, which is just so heartwarming for me because my dad had such a big, warm, genuine, loving personality. And I treat my patients how he treated them because that's how I grew up. I grew up in this clinic, I grew up in this office, and just seeing generationally how much his impact on them is helping me as my impact on my patients is just it's beautiful.
I love to hear that. I've always looked at the people who are the second and third generation chiropractors, and I wonder what it would have been like to have been raised in a chiropractic household. And the only thing I can connect to myself is watching my own children who I've been raising in a chiropractic household, who I raised here in the office, who I used to go and nurse them in between patients back in the back office where my dad made it soundproof so that it wouldn't wake the babies, right? So when we built it, we thought ahead of what will I need when I have babies in the office. And there's something so magical about chiropractic kids, whether they're our patients or whether they're the kids of other chiropractors. I'm very fortunate to see kids of chiropractors that come into the office here because, they're living in Atlanta now. And it's, I don't even know the right word for it. It's refreshing. It gives me hope for a future, right? To watch these chiropractic kids grow up, to watch people like yourself step into that position. Now, talk to us a little bit about the first 6, 7, 8, 9 months of being in practice. How's that been going for you?
At first, it was almost like I was dealing with imposter syndrome room because I immediately graduated and I went to work. Another doctor, Dr. Serge Sautre, he's been my mentor. Him and my dad were best friends. And so they learned Atlas orthogonal together. And when I was in school, I was planning on learning from my dad. And when everything happened, Dr. Serge took me under his wing and he says, all right, this is what we're going to do. You're going to learn from me. You're going to be successful. And he made sure that no matter what I did, I will be successful. So being able to have just guidance from my dad's friends, as well as just having him here with me in my soul, and just it's so much fun. I have fallen more and more in love with chiropractic every single day, being able to help the people that I help, putting my hands on these people, and just knowing that I have the right intention and my heart and soul is in my work, and the patients feel it when they're laying down. And it's beautiful. I really love it.
I love to hear that. So talking about the patients in the time that you've been in practice, and of course you've had your patients in student clinic and outpatient clinic, but in the time that you've been in practice and even growing up watching your dad, I know that you've seen, helped, witnessed, experienced chiropractic miracles. So why don't you tell us one of the inspiring stories of one of your patients?
I have a patient, he suffers from migraines almost daily. It's to where it's almost where he can't work. And he's one of my really good friends from college. And he came to see me one day, and I took x-rays of him and I adjusted him with Atlas orthogonal. And the next day, he woke up without a migraine. He went to sleep that night, no migraine. It was about a week and a half until he had another one. So through consistent care, it has now been 4 months without migraines. And it was something he suffered with every day.
And go deeper into that with us, because I know there's some students that are going to be watching this.
Yes.
Quality of life. How has it changed him as a person?
He would be cranky. He would go to work cranky. He would be taking ibuprofen almost every 4 hours. Even before it wore off, he would take more. He was living off of pain pills. He wouldn't be social. He basically, if he had plans with friends, he'd say, sorry, I have a migraine. I have to go home. I have to sleep. He couldn't be in loud areas. He did not have restful sleep. So he was living in this constant cycle of fatigue, depression, being upset, not being social, unable to experience the beauty of sunlight, just because the minute he looked up into the sun, it was just painful for him. He was able to start working out again. He was able to go on walks in the afternoons. He loved running, so he's able to get back into running again. The running would cause the pressure in his head to get even worse. So he's able to sleep restfully at night. He's able to work without any ibuprofen. He's able to have quality time with friends without having that pain that he experienced before or having to leave early. And the foods that he ate that used to be triggers for him, he can eat without being triggered.
That is amazing. And I think when you really look at the effects on the life, right? A slip on a snowy sidewalk, right? When you really look at the effect on the life with the big idea in mind, and you see how it not only changes him, but it changes his interaction with everyone he comes in contact to, whether that's family, whether that's friends, whether that's relationships, whether that's customers or employees or coworkers. When we allow people to function at a higher level, they become extraordinary, they vibrate at a higher level, and then they go into their world at such a higher frequency and such a better representation of themselves that it changes in concentric circles, and it just keeps getting better and better and better. So I love hearing these kind of stories. Recently, I've had 2 new patients start up who are using Botox for migraines, in addition to, the very, very strong, very highly chemical migraine medications. And they've been using Botox now for their migraines. And I said, look, let's see what we can do. Let's take some x-rays. Let's take a look at what's going on in your spine. And you see such a change in people under care. Okay, tell us another one of your stories, because I know you see families too in that office.
Yes, I had a little boy. He was about 2, 3 years old. He had eczema, really bad at the front of his neck. His elbow pits His knee pits all over his legs. He would itch all throughout the night. His parents would tape gloves onto his hands so that he couldn't itch himself. And we had about a month of consistent care. We only saw him once a week, and his eczema stopped appearing. It started to scab over, and his skin finally started to heal. And that was a really big win for him because he was itching all the time. He was bleeding, and he was just so uncomfortable. And his personality started to blossom because he was in less discomfort. He was at ease. His body was at ease.
Right. I love it. I love that you're affecting such positive change in your community. Anything else you want to share with us before we tap into our little housekeeping and all the things we have going on for GCC?
I'm just so thankful for chiropractic. I've been adjusted my whole life, and I can't imagine going through life any other way. And the fact that I can continue that by helping others is just beautiful.
Love it. Thank you. You know what? You are so inspiring today. Thank you. I know you just kind of like, you filled my cup up. So I know you filled up the cup of everybody that's watching. So whether you're watching live or you're watching on the replay, thank you so much, Dr. Kathryn, for coming on with us today.
Thank you guys so much.
Absolutely. Listen, if you're watching this and you're not yet a GCC member, I'm going to ask you to go to our website. It's georgiachiropractic.org and join, because we have a lot of things that are exclusive for our members. We also have free or discounted attendance for all of our CE events. So we're going to start posting some of our CE events up here in just a moment. But I want to tell you something. We're moving. We're not at the Atlanta Marriott Northwest. We're moving to the Atlanta Marriott Perimeter Center. That's the one over there by 400 and 285. We've got a great lineup of speakers. That's going to be June 22nd and 23rd. It's a Saturday, Sunday. You can get all of your continuing ed credits in one weekend. Remember, this is a renewal year. You can only do 20. You can only do 20 online and 20 live. So if you already did your online courses last year, then you've got to do this year live and in person. Great lineup of speakers. Also coming up, we have our annual, don't get choked up about it over here. We got our annual Cinco de Chiro coming up. That's a good fun fellowship, fiesta, and philosophy. That's coming up Saturday, May 4th. You've got to get registered for that. The information is on our website. Again, it's georgiachiropractic.org. And I want you to mark your calendars for Friday, September 13th for our 7th annual GCC Chiro Cup golf tournament. You can go to chirocup.com or you can go to georgiachiropractic.org to get the information. It's going to be at Marietta City Club. If you have a business that wants to be a sponsor, or you know someone that owns a business that would be a great sponsor for us, whether they sell face paper, or they sell tables, or whether they do credit card processing, or if they have a restaurant, or they have a business that is health conscious, like it's a gym, or somebody that you know, a patient that you know that would be a great sponsor, please send them our way. This is how we help raise money to support great research for chiropractic and a public awareness campaign. So sponsorships are available at chirocup.com. Again, that's Friday, September 13th. You asked for a Friday. We gave you a Friday. Get registered. It is going to sell out. And with that being said, I want to thank Dr. Kathryn for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I want to thank you guys for watching, and join us again next week, spring break week here in Cherokee County, for GCC's next episode of Georgia Chiro Connection. See you next time, everybody.